Welcome along. The weather isn't great, so we're in the studio today, but some of us came dressed for the winter.
Yep, roll necks.
But we'll stay warm in here. You're looking good. Nice to have you with us. We've got Rio Ferdinand, Martin Keown with us today, and a warm welcome to Scott Parker as well. Welcome along.
Thank you, Jack. I'm looking forward to today.
Are you?
Yes.
So you were just telling us this is the first game of football you've been to since you left your most recent job. How does it feel?
Yeah, I'm excited, to be fair. I've obviously been out now for some months, spent some time with the family and probably not took a lot of football in. But excited about today. As always, you come to these stadiums and you start getting the buzz of it, and it starts, blood starts flowing again, as always, really. What
are you looking to do, Scott? Are you looking to get back in as soon as possible, or is your missus saying get back out there and get a job now? Or what?
Not yet. No. You know what? I suppose 20 years as a player, then 3 years going into management straight away. A couple of promotions and had a bit of success, but it's been right at the heat of it, really. So. Time to probably just take a little bit of stock. I'm enjoying my time. A lot of things that I've not been able to do due to pure routine, and certainly when you go from a player where you're a bit more flexible now as a manager, the last 3 years has been pretty hectic, really. So just the little bits with the kids where you can go and watch and play a bit of football, and that is I'm enjoying, learning still, and this is part of it now. So, but of course, it's what I've always known, really. It's in our blood, really. So no doubt when the time's right and the right opportunity comes up, would want to get back into it.
So this is a hiatus, not a departure.
For sure.
I think what's interesting is a lot of people, when they've existed like you have, so much of their self-worth is wrapped up in what they do for a living, whether it's playing football or managing in the game. So how have you found not having that routine or not being able to work out if you've had a good week or not, because there's 3 points for you at the end of it?
Well, it was something I was always scared of, to be fair, probably hence why I started my coaching badges really, really early. I was at Spurs, started my coaching badges at 30 years of age, probably for the fact that there was that fear in me that since a young boy on an estate, all I ever knew was football, really, and there was always that fear of wanting to carry on and do something. I must admit, since coming out of it and probably just seeing the other side of it, because when you're in a rat race of it, like we all are at times, whatever we do in life, we're in a rat race, and certainly at times it's the intense nature of what football management brings. Sometimes you probably lose sight of some other things which are missing. I've got four young sons, and then they're not getting any younger, they're getting older, and there's time sometimes which is invaluable, really. But while as quickly as I say that,
can't wait to get back in.
Yeah. There's a drive and ambition. What gets you up in the morning?
Don't leave it too long, because the game also turns its back on you. You know, you've got a lot of. You think about the information you've picked up and what you've learned, so you need to get back in as quick as you can. But I think it's good to recharge the batteries as well and see what other people do, like Rio, on a Saturday, sitting watching games and doing nothing else but.
Yeah, it's enjoyable, man. I love doing that, but it's crazy because we were talking in the Winnebago about like pressure. And like, how did you deal with that pressure? And we were talking about the players in our area. It seems like there's been a bit of a shift of players were really under real scrutiny when things went wrong. They were the ones who were really in the firing line. Where now it seems like more the managers and the quick turnover of managers. How did you manage under that pressure?
Yeah, the pressure probably isn't something. In fact, probably the pressure is something that gets you up in the morning. That fear of failing and the pressure what comes on or whatever that is. It probably isn't that. I suppose communication in the world today is very different to what it was, and I'm 3 years as a manager, really, so I can't really speak from vast experience. What I can speak of is someone who is in this moment as a manager, and I'm sure if we spoke to someone who had been in the game for 15 years, it may be very different. And it's probably the noise and the platforms that can be processed and people can get their hands on that can sometimes affect someone in a managerial position. You know, as a manager, you're trying to manage personalities. You're managing 30 players. You're managing hierarchy. You're managing staff. And I suppose at times it's the noise what comes out that to make sure your message is a strong one and people are not influenced by that. And they're probably the challenges that a manager now faces, as well as a tactical issue and stuff like that. There's certainly another element to management which is probably a lot more deeper now because of what's available out there, really, in the big world, really.
Interesting stuff. Make a good podcast episode, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 or 5, or High performance, as you say.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Right. I wonder how Scott felt yesterday watching the late goals go in, whether it was like, thank goodness I'm relaxing on the sofa, or I want to be involved, because it was a dramatic day once again in the Premier League yesterday. Aaron, thanks for coming out and talking to us. Thank you, Des. So, not been mentioned, Aubameyang. What about among the players? Would he have been mentioned? Would they have had a little word?
He's lying. he would have been mentioned in the team talk, definitely. Yeah. They know how he plays, they know his habits, they know his traits, and that will be the defenders and the goalkeeper 100%. I'd be baffled. I'd be very surprised if the defenders haven't said to the keeper and had that conversation. When he gets in this area, we'll show him here, on his weak side where he's not comfortable. So, but I understand that it's mind games at this point.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk about that a little bit later on as we build up to this lunchtime kickoff. I really want to talk, though, about the chance that Arsenal have this season to win the Premier League. When you're top of the table at any point, people start to talk about it. If they're going to do it, Martin, they're going to have to do something they haven't done since you got your hands on that trophy and you had that invincible season. They will need more than 90 points. It's been 20 years since that's happened.
Yeah, such as the standard, isn't it? Man City, Liverpool have been setting in recent years. So, you know, I think it's a case of just building this group. You know, you talked about the invincible group. That was done over many years, where we built a reputation of being really tough, hard to beat. Now, this is a new group, so we don't really, every fence that they climb, we think, OK, that's a good test, well done. And you have to say they've done that really well, Jake, so far this season. Brentford was a very good performance when we looked at it and thought, who goes there and wins 3-0? OK, they won a tricky game at Leeds and they drew at Southampton. But I think when you come to a club like this, there's a proper Champions League club, 20 years of great success here. OK, it's a new manager, but you make a statement today. If you get a result here today, you win or you draw, everyone knows that Arsenal are real, proper challengers towards Man City.
Do you have them in your head as potential Premier League winners then this season, or are you just saying it's too soon?
I think City are the team, aren't they? The standard bearers. I think it's hard to look beyond them. But I think it's a unique opportunity. We've got a World Cup in the middle of things. It might just be a perfect time for Arsenal, you know, to win this sort of third of the season. Let's say they can win this sort of mini league. And then the money is spent again. There's talk of big spending in January to support this manager. But it has been a process, a long-term process. And I think Arteta has done quite incredibly well with his team and the group of players he has.
It's not going to be like a Leicester season, is it? You're not going to win it with 81 points this season.
I can't see it, no. I think I agree with Martin there, really. Man City are probably the real standout. I think the key for me is exactly like with Arsenal, is the process of where they've got to at this point. And that gives them a real good chance. I think it's fair to say that all of us sitting here, and when you watch Arsenal, there's still some hurdles they're going to need to get over. And as much as they've been very impressive, and I think Mikel's done a fantastic job, it's them hurdles occasionally, which are going to be coming up after the World Cup, that they need to keep ticking in boxes, really.
I don't think the pressure comes from within to win the league either, which is a nice place to be for Arsenal. I think they believe in the bigger project, the wider big project. That is still, they're thinking about time to get to where they want to get to. Yes, they'd take it if they was to win it, but I think it's more about they're building the blocks to get to a place where they can be sustainable at this level of trying to win the league. I think the hurdle for them will be this season, I think, is the actual size of the squad depth. I think that's where Manchester City stand out from the whole Premier League. And if you're going up against that, that's a big hurdle to overcome. They'll need a lot of luck. The World Cup could play its part. So lots of lottery to be seen after this World Cup, but I think Arsenal couldn't be in a better position than they are right now.
Do you know, it's interesting that we talk about Aubameyang. I'm coming here today thinking Aubameyang, is it going to be his day? I sincerely hope it isn't going to be. But it was one of those where the club allowed him to leave last season. He went to Barcelona, he scored 11 goals, he made Champions League. Xavi said it was a gift from God because he was that good for the team. I sincerely hope that doesn't come back to bite Arsenal today. But I do believe in the reason why the manager did it for the right reasons, because it's a young group of players. He wasn't happy with the professionalism and the culture maybe that was being created. So he got rid of his star player. And it did cost him in the end, perhaps, Champions League. But in the long run, we've now got Jesus there and this team is really firing. So I think today's a significant day all round. And Aubameyang needs to be kept quiet because he could be the one who grabs the headlines.
OK, nice. And the other reason why it's significant, of course, is that last-minute winner for Manchester City yesterday, which just puts the pressure once again on Arsenal. They have to respond yet again. Make sure you stay where you are, because in a couple of minutes we'll be back, and when we are back we will hear from Graham Potter, get his thoughts ahead of this game and try and work out how he's going to line his Chelsea team up today to take on a team who can go back to the top of the Premier League. See you shortly.
Motorway, the way to sell your car, sponsors the Premier League on BT Sport.
Welcome back. It's nice to have you with us on this Sunday morning. Arsenal already out warming up, and as you can see, here come Chelsea, a Chelsea team who've got 4 changes since their last Premier League match. We're still busy in the studio trying to work out exactly how Graham Potter's going to line this team up, but I tell you what, let's hear from him, because the Chelsea boss is with Des.
Graham, how hard is it to get consistency when you're still finding things about this?
Yeah, we're looking forward to this. It's got all the makings of a really exciting game of football. I just want to talk about the 2 managers specifically today. We've got 2 men in charge who you feel are working on long-term projects. But how do you get the balance right as a manager between the long-term project and making sure that in the short term you get the results to keep hold of your job, to carry out the long-term project?
That's the key thing, really, I suppose, and I think I think we all realise as a manager you want results, but also what managers realise is you need a real process and a real structure along the way to have some sustained success, really. And I think that's the key. I think without a real process and a real understanding, and I'm not just talking about a manager, that needs to be the whole organisation, really, you know. And Mikel's probably a perfect example of that. I see this game today, I see a manager that's probably a team that's 2 months in the making. I see a team that's 3 years in the making, and the stability that's been given to Mikel from a year ago, 18 months ago, let's get it right, he was right under it. The confidence probably give him, the decisions he's made, some big decisions in terms of players coming in, players coming out, have got him to this point that has now produced a team that we're starting to see, really. So,
I think we were talking before about patience and time in this game. No one's really afforded that anymore in this game. And I think you look at all of the teams recently, especially who have had success in the Premier League, the managers have been given an element of time. Pep Guardiola's only year in management. He didn't win a trophy. It was his first year at Man City. Like some organisation would say, "Whoa, that's a red flag. Got to get rid." But they believe in the project. Jurgen Klopp took him a longer period of time.
Surely they're not going to give Potter time here, are they? I mean, if you look at Tuchel, what he achieved, he won a Champions League in his first season. He won the Super Cup, the World Cup. They got to 2 finals, by the way. League Cup final, FA Cup final last year, finished third. He has 1 or 2 bad games, he's out the door. So there has to be a mindset change.
The only thing the difference is, I think now, mine is it's a new ownership, and I think time will be the test of that. In terms of that, new ownership have come in, they've employed a man, and like we said, that could be the case, and history has told you that. But I think new owners have come in, and let's see, look, they've got an incredible coach here, 1,000,000%. But Graham will be under no illusions, like all of us, that we're going to get judged on results, and if you don't get results, you ain't got a job. And
I think when you get new ownership as well, sorry Jake, when you get new ownership, they want their man in.
Yeah.
And I think that was evident with this new regime here at Chelsea. It wasn't about, was Potter good enough? He wasn't the man they wanted. He didn't.
I agree with that. But I actually feel, though, that the manager hadn't done bad, had he? He certainly hadn't done bad in what he'd achieved in the short period of time he'd been here. So, are they going to change their principles now they've got their own man? I think they probably will, and I think they've got the right man. I've been really impressed with the tactics. I think they've lost 1 game in 11, and you've got a great group of players. There are players out, though. You've got Reece James is out, Kante's out. There's a group of players that he's not got available, but nonetheless, I'd like to see him just... We've spent our time here trying to work out what formation he's going to play. Just imagine what that's like in a dressing room. And I think last week where they lost against Brighton, you start to wonder, is this a lottery? Yeah. What are we doing? We're changing things every week. And I think he just needs to settle it down. He did that at Brighton, I understand that, but I think here... it's a case just settle it down and giving us a fixed team that we can work with.
But they haven't employed that manager to do that. They've employed him to do what he was great at, and that is being able to shuffle the pack, being able to mix around formations to suit for specific
But these
games.
are better players here, surely.
Yeah, but you can't expect him to change what's got him here. He's got here doing that. I mean, you can't change your principles and the fundamentals of what you do.
The key is as well, I think... In the world we're in, we lose sight sometimes of putting ourselves in their position and understanding. Like you put yourself in Potter's position this moment in time. This guy's come in at a new football club, and literally, I don't know, but I bet he's had barely any time to work with his team. It's been game after game after game. This is going to take time to really see a team that he's going to want to see. I have no doubt that even if he wins, loses, there's still elements of the team what he doesn't like, and that takes time. And the amount of time he's probably got on the training field at this present moment in time is probably very, very sparse.
So he's got to change it out there at the moment, it seems.
Yeah, but in the burst basis, isn't it, to sort of rely upon, find the guys that you can rely on, and then try and keep it simple, no? Rather than keep changing it. So we'll see what he comes up with today.
OK.